Hey, y'all. Y'all got to see I got a high and tight today. Want to tell. All right, so for everybody in the replay, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the drill. You know the routine. You know what's up. Um, I'm gonna talk before people come in because it's a lot going on in our little world today. And as you can see from the thumbnail, what I be talking about. Right now there are two trials going on, one in Georgia and one in Wisconsin. So we're gonna talk about the one in Wisconsin first, which is why I had the young man's picture and his tears. Mm. When it comes to trials and things like that, emotions are what we focus on. It because we know certain facts. During a trial, you can't know all the facts. You know certain facts, but we work on emotions. Hey, Asian, what someone did, who it affected, things like that. So I'm going to start with a few facts. Fact number one: Kyle Rittenhouse was 17 at the time that he killed those two people and injured a third person. Fact number two: he was not from the state or city in which he committed the crimes. He was driven from his home in Illinois to Wisconsin. Fact: he was not old enough to own a gun, purchase, or own a gun. Thank you. Hey, Miss Tells the Truth. Hey, Tanya. Yes, fact: he was not old enough to own a gun. Fact: his mother, not his friends, not his girlfriend, not some of the people who were going to the protests. His mother drove him from their home to Wisconsin. He's Kenosha. Fact: she dropped him off with a group of other protesters. Now, I don't know for certain whether he knew these people prior to that or whether he saw a group of people he felt like that he could be a part of and he just got into, he just decided to stop where he saw people. I don't know that. That's not a fact. I don't know, but I do know that he was dropped off by his mother in a state that he didn't live in with a gun. Fact: the business that he said he was protecting, the owner of the business stated under oath on the stand that he did not ask anyone to protect his business. Not just not Kyle, but he didn't ask anyone to protect his business. Now, those are the facts, or some of the facts. The defense wants to paint him as self-defense. He was scared for his life. The two people he killed were criminals. One of them had a gun. Somebody threw something at him, and he was in fear of your life. Self-defense. The act of self-defense is defending oneself when you are in fear for your life. Okay? And I have no problem with self-defense. I really don't. I think that if you start some, you need to deal with the consequences. However, let's take this a few things into consideration. Number one, that's not where he was from. Shouldn't have been there. Period. I don't care about your. He was a 17-year-old boy. He can't vote. He can't drink. There's very little he can do legally. He should not have been there. We would not have a need for this trial if he'd have just stayed at home. If his mother would have said no. No, we're not going. No, you can't go. No. Somebody else would have done something, and we would not have a 17-year-old trying to make up tears on the stand because he's on trial for the murder of two and the attempted murder of one. Now, I haven't seen the trial. I really haven't. I mean, I've seen snippets of it on TikTok, Facebook, when people, post things, different things that people say. From what I understand, during the trial, the pretrial phase, when the judge gives instructions to the prosecution, the defense, and the jury, there were a lot of things that were questionable as far as the judge is concerned. A lot of the instructions that he gave were questionable. Here's the thing. I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts, the meats and bones, none of that about this because I don't know any. And frankly, I don't really care. Hey, Magdalene. Frankly, I don't really. Here's my thing, and here's my point from beginning to end, regardless of what is said in the trial. He should never have been there. Nick is 16 years old. Yes, the judge is, from what I understand and from what I've seen, the judge is not only being blatantly biased against the prosecution. The prosecution is not calling for the censure of the judge, which they should do, and at least get it on record. Because, hear me, so y'all can understand why this trial is playing out the way it's playing out and the importance of that. This young man was brought to trial the way he's being brought to trial because once he's acquitted, even if a video should surface 13 seconds after he's found innocent that he walked up to somebody and put the gun to their forehead and blew the back of their head off, there's a video showing him smiling as he's shooting. He cannot be retried. He can't be retried. It's done. It's over. Once he is tried for these crimes, he cannot be retried. Now, can he be retried? Can he be tried for another crime, a separate one, something different? Sure. But he cannot be retried for the death of those two people and the attempted murder of the third. He cannot be retried again. So there's a reason why this is going on. So I'm not going to sit up here and say I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I am certain that there are conspiracies out there. I am certain that people work together against people because that's just the way it is. It starts when you're in grade school and it happens till you die. However, in this instance, by allowing him to fake cry and put on these... He should never have been there. My point is this. He should never have been there. He should never have been put in that position. Right now, let's this young man has to now deal with the fact that he's taken the lives of two people for nothing. He didn't take the lives of those two people because he was protecting his life or the lives of others. He didn't even take the lives of those two people because he was protecting somebody's business who didn't tell him to protect. You took the lives of those two people because of somebody else's ideology. He's 17 years old. He's still working on what people are telling him and the ideology of others. So because of somebody else's ideology and them feeling like Black Lives Matter and that peaceful protests need to have people protesting the opposite, that's why you killed someone. Because you weren't there to protect anybody. None of those people that were there during the protests were there to protect anybody. They were there to have a show of force, to have to elicit fear from the protesters. They were there to incite violence. You were not there to protect anybody. People can protect their own stuff. They have insurance for if somebody blows up if somebody had to blow up the man cars, guess what? He got insurance. If somebody sets your building on fire, guess what? You got insurance. These people were not in someone's home. These people did not come to this young man's door. He was not protecting his home or his mother. He was in another state in front of business he had no business being in front of at night after curfew. And here's the thing, when they dismissed the charge, because there was a charge of him being out after curfew, when they dismissed the charge saying that there was a lack of evidence that he was out after curfew, even though the killings occurred after curfew and there's no disputing that he killed the people, so how is there no evidence that he was out after curfew? Hear me when I tell you, this little boy is going to go home at the end of this trial. And he's going to think he's gotten away with something. And he's going to think he is better than. And he's going to think he's more important than. And trust me, that particular feeling is going to grow as he gets older. What? I can't wait until you get to the AR-15 gun that he had. Like, why, how his parents agreed with him 100%. Yeah. He was walking around with a long gun strapped to him like he was in the military, like there was a military assault going on, and that they were protecting the lives of the villagers. You weren't protecting anything. You were walking down the street, you and everybody else that was with you that had weapons, that brought weapons to a protest. And when I tell you, and do you know they've even had the argument against Black Lives Matter during this trial, even though no one that was killed was black, saying that if Black Lives is a group about, they're still even trying to figure out a way to bring the BLM movement into a trial, that the only thing that was BLM was the protest. Saying that BLM is not protesting for the conviction of Kyle. Why are they not protesting for the dead white people? What? Y'all ain't protesting either. Nobody is getting on there saying, why did y'all allow this little boy to kill these people? Nobody. And they actually have. BLM, from what I understand, I don't know, I wasn't there, reached out to the family. From what I understand, reached out to the family. Reached out to the families of the slain people and the man that was hurt. Why would I protest when 2 people were killed at a protest march? So this can happen again to somebody else? Protesting and activism is not just about parades. It's about letting families know you'll be there when you need stuff. It's about letting people know, I understand, I see you, and we got you. Protesting and activism is not just about a parade or walking up and down the street or having homemade signs saying Black Lives Matter or whatever. That's not what just a protesting is. At the end of the day, no, he was not an EMT. He was 17 years old. What kind of EMT were you? You don't even have a high school diploma, little boy. Get down somewhere, sit down. I'm a volunteer EMT. Now, because paramedic, there's a difference between paramedic and emergency medical technician. So since I don't know the specific, I'm going to right now Google what an EMT is. Because maybe he took the EMT class in high school. Maybe that class told him he was an EMT. So I'm going to see. So, because I really like to have facts. I don't like to spew, I don't like to spew non-facts. Let me see. Let's see. An emergency medical technician, also known as an ambulance technician, is a health professional that provides emergency medical services. EMTs are mostly found working in ambulances. What's the difference between an EMT? Ah, the basic difference between EMTs and paramedics lies in their level of education and the procedures that they are allowed to perform. While EMTs can administer CPR, glucose, and oxygen, paramedics can perform a more complex procedures as inserting IVs, administering drugs, and applying pacemakers. Okay, so that's what I want to see. So you can't get. I don't think you can be a certified EMT in high school, but who am I? I don't know. I never wanted to be a medical professional, so that's not something I read up on. But yeah. So now, after taking donations from different white nationalists, white supremacist Nazi groups during the time, after taking donations, after I think he got $500,000 on was it Cash App or GoFundMe? After walking around and signing pictures and, want to understand, T-shirts, and walking around with a free as fuck T-shirt on, after he got out, and taking pictures and just smiling because he's now the poster boy for what you're supposed to do at a peaceful protest rally when you don't believe in what the protesters are talking about. And once he gets away with it, somebody will do it again. So, we're going to have 13 million memes about the crying on the stand. Not one tear came down. And it was so absurd. It was like a caricature of what the crying is. You know how you go to the boardwalk or somewhere and they're doing the caricature pictures of enlarged and excess, facial expressions, features. He was a caricature of someone who actually wanted to cry or needed to cry. And his mother was out there crying. I said, what you out there crying for? You should be sitting next to him. Because, hear me, and for all that's going to get in the comments and talk crazy, hear me with all the ears that you have on your head. Had it been me taking Nick to another state with a gun that he was not legally allowed to possess, and I dropped him off in front of somebody's business, and he killed 2 people and wounded 1 person, not only would he not have made it out of the protest alive, but I would have been on trial. Because I facilitated his actions. Accessory after the fact. Child abandonment, because I dropped my son off in another state and just let him go willy-nilly. But you out there crying. What you crying for? Your child is alive. What are you crying for? You had to know there are consequences to your actions. He couldn't even act like he wanted to cry. He squeezed his face up so hard, he almost busted his eyelids. And still not a tear came out. But I was not talking about him so much as they panned his mama crying. What are you crying for? You're not crying for the people he killed. You're not crying for the person he put in the hospital. You're not crying because your dumb ass let him off and let him walk around outside in a state that he was not from, carrying a loaded weapon, and then he used it. You're not crying because he's an idiot. You're not crying because you didn't teach him well. You're not crying because you didn't have control of your child. You are crying because your child is lie crying on the stand after he killed 2 people. And make no mistake, there is no ambiguity about that. He killed 2 people. And luck is the only reason he didn't kill a 3rd. We don't have to decide whether or not he killed those people. We don't have to do that. He killed 2 people. But it's okay because he was in fear for his life. Because he was outside of his house at a protest march in another state at 17, carrying an AR-15, loaded, saying he was protecting other people's property. It's not your property to protect. I just can't. I just can't. And on to the, hold on, I mean, yes, he does. I get a little, it's a no-win situation. If he's found guilty, he's a martyr. I don't care. If he's praised and a martyr, I don't care. Because if he's praised and a martyr in jail, guess what? It's a lot of praised martyrs right now in jail. Get in jail, and trust me when I tell you, somebody will make him cry for real. And if he's acquitted, he'll do something else. Because right then, he's going to think he's untouchable. He's going to think that, yeah. Oh, and his mama, I guess she won't be crying anymore. Okay. So, off that, and on to the next trial that is going on now in Georgia. The trial in the murder of Ahmad Aubry. Here's another set of people protecting property and that doesn't belong to them. That resulted in the death of someone. So, yes, Ahmad Aubry did go into the house that is the bone of contention, is the linchpin of the defense's case, that Ahmad Aubry was a thief. Okay. So let's start by saying this. Number one, the man's house, who it was. All of these murders will surely reap what they sow and will stand accountable. Eventually. Yes, Beverly, it was an empty house. So the gentleman that owned the house had put cameras in there because he had not finished the work that was going on in his house, and because of some health thing, he could not be there. So he put cameras in there because people have been telling him that people have been going on the house and looking. So he put the cameras up, and as far as he knew, nothing had been stolen. He saw Ahmad Aubry, and he saw a few other people who had walked in, looked around, walked out. So he said, no, even though I did ask someone to look out for my property when I couldn't be there, it was not these people. So let's start this. Ahmad Aubry was jogging in a neighborhood. A father-son duo and a third gentleman saw him, decided he was a thief, corralled him like an animal, one with the truck and with their cars and the trucks, pulled a gun on him, shot him, killed him, because they said he was the person who had been stealing from the neighborhood. Even though there's no evidence that he had been stealing from the neighborhood, regardless of whether or not he had a previous record, that had nothing to do with what was going on, because they couldn't have known he had a record. They couldn't have known anything about him because they didn't know who he was. They didn't stop and ask him his name. They didn't ignore him and go about their day. They decided that this black man did not belong in this neighborhood and that he must have been doing something that was worthy of his death. That's basically what it was. Now, we can sit up here and put pretty words and long words, and we can have this awesome vocabulary, but the reality is that three people decided that because this gentleman was not a part of their neighborhood and black was a factor, his race was a factor, the color of his skin, I don't know his ethnicity, so the color of his skin was a factor. So because of that, they decided that day that they were going to be judge, jury, and executioner. Period, point blank, end of discussion. So the dude that corralled him with his truck but didn't pull out a gun decides that he wants to help but doesn't want to pay the cost for that. The other one saying that he said he was going to hit me, or you started it. You started it. You were messing with him. You were chasing him down the street. You were following him. You were using your cars and trucks to block him in. You started it. And because he wanted to defend himself, you decided that I can't fight, so I'm going to shoot. When you didn't have to be there. In each one of these cases that I am talking about, the person who did the shooting did not have to be there. This was not your house. This was not your property. These were not your kids. This was not your mama. This was not your protest. This was not your job. We were making a citizen's arrest. For what? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, he had been stealing. He wasn't stealing that day. He had nothing on him. Not a backpack, not a duffel bag, not a wallet, not a cell phone. So clearly he hadn't stolen anything off a construction site that he could hide in his drawers. So what was he stealing, and what were you arresting him for? Can anybody tell me? You're making a citizen's arrest. So what were you citizen arresting him for? It couldn't have been theft of property, because he didn't have anything to hold any property. He wasn't carrying any wood. He didn't have any power tools. He didn't have a screwdriver, a hammer, a nail. He didn't even have a nail on him. So what were you citizen arresting him for? Not a goddamn thing. So you decided to get your gun, and today you were going to make your stand, and just so happens that this is who bore the brunt of that, who bore the consequences of you bringing a gun out of your house when it wasn't necessary. You could have been racist, biased, and prejudiced from your porch. Guess what? You could have called him a nigga all day, and he still would have been alive. You could have told him to get his dark ass out of y'all neighborhood, and he still would have been alive. You could have accomplished your I don't like black people day, and he still could have been alive. But instead, you chose to get in your car, get a rifle, because it wasn't a handgun, it was a rifle. And I want to say it was a 12 gauge. I want to say it was a shotgun. Let me check, because I don't want to lie. But I know it was a rifle. It wasn't a handgun. So yeah, let me see. And I'll get to the defense attorney in a second. Hey, pretty brown ass. I'll get to that in a second. The defendant said Ahmad Aubry was trapped like a rat. That's what the defendant said. Let me see what they're talking about. All right. So I pulled up something from the AP News, which is a reputable news. Hey, Robin. Which is a reputable news agency. So that's what I did. I pulled that up. So I'm not going off of Google News. Facebook News. I'm looking at AP News. One of the three white men standing trial for the death of Ahmad Aubry said that the 25-year-old black man was trapped like a rat before he was fatally shot. All right. Okay. So, one of the Glenn County police sergeants said he told the jury that Greg McMichael, who I think was the father, told Aubry wasn't out for no Sunday jog. He was getting the hell out of there. That's what it said. That's what he told him. He was trapped like a rat. I think he was wanting to flee and realized that something, he was not going to get away. That's what he was saying. Now, this is just some man sitting in his house, decided today he was going to play police. He He had an opportunity to flee further, you know. We had chased him around the neighborhood a bit, but he wasn't winded at all. I mean, this guy, he was in good shape. Okay. All right, so I'm trying to see what. Now, the man with the truck, he said, I didn't hit him. I wish I would have. Might have took him out and not get him shot. So instead of hitting him, so instead of shooting him, he was going to run him over with his truck. Because guess what? Shot to death and ran over the dead. It's the same thing. Still dead. This is crazy. Anyway. So it didn't say in there what kind of gun it was, but it was a shotgun. So I don't know whether it was a 12 gauge or a long rifle, but I think it was 12 gauge. Regardless of the fact, these are deaths that should not have happened because they weren't your business. 17-year-olds shouldn't have been there. The 3 men should have stayed at their house. That's not your job. That's not your job. And everybody, and when things like this happen, in the case of the cow, here's the thing. People want to bring up the color of your skin only when it's convenient. So even though no black person was killed or on trial during the Kyle Rittenhouse, race has still been brought up. Even though it shouldn't have factored in. However, in the Ahmad Aubry trial, they don't want race to be a factor. Because the 3 men did it because they thought he was stealing, not because he was different than they were. Okay. When people tell you they don't see color, they're lying. You're lying. You're lying, and I'm 100% certain that you're lying. Because the statement in and of itself tells the truth. I don't see color. Clearly you do because you just said you don't. So you noticed there was a difference. To say that I don't see it. If you don't see color, it's not a factor, so it doesn't have to be stated. However, it is a factor in a person of color's everyday life. So while I am on the fair skin spectrum of the black experience, at the end of the day, I am still, while I am biracial, I am still black and white. It plays a part. My son, when they look at my son, he is a person of color. He is a man of color. Regardless of whether or not you know his ethnicity, his color does come into play. When you say I don't see color, it's a lie because you do. It factors in. It goes along. That sentence and I got black friends so I can't be racist, they go along the same way. If somebody's your friend, their race, ethnicity, and color of skin should not matter. So it shouldn't have to be stated that you don't see it. If you don't feel any different, if you dislike people across the board and you're not racist, you just mean as hell, then you don't state the fact. Oh, I don't see color when I hate people. I just hate everybody. No, you don't have to state that fact if you don't see color. Yep, you get what I'm saying? I wish that the color of someone's skin did not factor into their day-to-day living and dying, but it does. And what I can't fathom and what I can't wrap my head around is that we still have to have the argument. When regardless of whether or not you are prejudiced, biased, or racist, you see the fact that a person can get pulled over for speeding and get shot because a police officer fears for his life because I thought maybe they were going for a gun. At some point, it looked like a gun, but oops, it was a phone. Or they looked like they were nervous, and when he moved, I was scared. Or I thought it was my taser. Or they got loud and I got nervous because I didn't know what was going on. The police officer, the first police officer to show up on the scene at the Ahmad Aubry crime scene, did not administer any aid because he said he feared for his life. He was scared. He was the only person there, and he was scared. What you scared of? They were through shooting. You didn't offer any life-saving measures because there were none to offer. And it didn't factor in you to think to save, to at least even try to save this young man's life. So please stop making excuses. The color of one's skin factors into their day-to-day life. What are you? What are you mixed with? Your mama must be white. Why are your eyes green? Your daddy black? I have to tell my son to be on alert, not just for criminals, but for the people that are supposed to help him if a crime is committed against him. Race, ethnicity, and the color of your skin factors into how you're treated in day-to-day life. That is just a fact. Hey, Marguerite. Now, and there's nothing we can do about that. I wish there was. 3 people died for no reason. They weren't committing a crime. They weren't trying to harm anybody else. They didn't get hit by a bus. They didn't catch COVID. They were killed because someone thought that they were important enough that they could decide life and death. Even if he was a thief, he hadn't stolen anything. And the last time I checked, theft of property does not have a life sentence, or actually a death sentence. Two people were killed at a protest because he was in fear of his life. You know why why you wouldn't have been scared if you'd have been at home? You know where you wouldn't have been scared at? At your house. Now let me tell you something. If somebody was trying to break into his house with him and his mom at, and he got his little gun, feel free to shoot everybody. I grew up, my grandmama said, don't let them make it in the house. So I have no problem with self-defense. I have no problem with defending one's life. But here's my problem. You weren't doing that. You weren't scared for your life. You were walking around brandishing a weapon like it was a toy. You were walking around like it was some prize you were given. And when somebody confronted you, because there's a reason why children shouldn't have guns or weapons that can kill. You don't have the maturity to make a mature decision. Just ain't old enough. Haven't lived through enough. Haven't experienced enough. And you don't have control over your emotions to know that maybe this is not a bullet action. And had you stayed at home where your ass should have been, none of this would have happened. 2 young men would have lost their lives. 2 sets of families wouldn't be grieving and trying to figure out how to bear their children. No parent should have to bear their child. And you made sure that 2 did. Back to the Ahmad Aubry, so we can understand. So when I can, so even the most racist had to go, well, damn, he said that out loud. So I don't know which day that one of the defense attorneys at the Ahmad Aubry trial, I don't know whether this was a motion he was putting up to the judge or what, but he said with his whole chest, out loud, we can't have all these black preachers coming in here to support the family. You know, we got the Al Sharpton, and he's already here. 1 is enough. We can't just have all these black preachers in and out of here, you know. And he repeated it. I know that there were racists all over the country going, did he just say that out loud? That's how egregious that statement was. I don't know, is it Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson? Those are the only 2 black preachers you know? There are millions of them. Oh, you think we all look alike? That's probably why. All the black preachers look alike. We just can't have them parading in here. So what you telling me is that 1 black preacher is all you can stand to support this family who has become a nationwide thing, because it is so much, it's so many factors that go into that. I don't, when something is so ridiculous as the statements he made and the reason that the trial is going on and the fact that these people are dead, understand this is dead. Dead. D-E-A-D. These people are dead. There is no saying I'm sorry. There is no saying I wish I didn't, because no matter what you say, do, or what goes on, dead is dead. No coming back, no changing it, nothing. Now, it might be some zombies come along in a few years, but right now, you have killed 3 people, have lost their lives for nothing. And they are making a travesty out of the judicial system. And the judicial system is allowing it. And they are having fun just doing. Thank you, Marguerite. I feel so passionately about these things because I have people that I fear for. My son goes to work. He takes himself to work. And he either rides his bike. Some days he'll catch an Uber. But all I can think of is a young black man walking up and down the streets of Virginia. And I'm not scared of some gang violence. I'm not scared of getting caught in a crossfire, some shootout. I'm scared that 3 weeks ago, some young black man will have robbed a 7-Eleven 30 miles from here, and they'll see my son, and they'll say he looks like the person that did it. Because these are the excuses that they give for why they stop young black people, and why they arrest them, and why the arrest eventually at some point may turn into the death of the person that he fit the description of. She looked like. You were in the vicinity of a crime that was committed a couple of weeks ago, and you look like the person we heard that they said that you look like. We can't keep going this way, y'all. We can't. We can't keep going this way. Race, the color of your skin plays a factor. It just does. Now, we can keep saying it doesn't. we can keep allowing people to say we use it pulling the race card and that America's not racist anymore and that slavery is over, we should just get over it, or you're welcome, Miss Cox, or Jim Crow wasn't a thing, or there sundown, there's no, let me tell you something, y'all. I lived in Alabama for a long time. Sundown laws are still valid in Alabama, to where they could legally kill you if you're outside after dark. Hear what I'm telling you. But y'all don't understand. See, here's the thing. Google is free. And I'm not telling you to become a an African American history scholar. I'm not telling you to become a history scholar. All I'm saying is if you want information, Google it. That's all I'm saying. I heard something one time, and it struck me with such truth. Racism is so ingrained in the history, the Constitution, and the building of America that when someone challenges racism, people feel like they're challenging American history. Cal Rittenhouse should not have been in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Period. Cal Rittenhouse killed two people and injured a third. Period. Cal Rittenhouse's mama should be on trial as well. Period. Ahmad Aubry should have made it home that day. Period. Even if he was a thief, theft of property does not hold a death sentence. Period. It was not their job to detest, to question, detain, arrest, or kill Ahmaud Arbery. Period. We can debate the semantics, we can go into great detail, but it boils down to very simple principles. Thou shalt not kill. You love to throw Bible verses and commandments around and, hey, Raymond, and thump the Bible and say what God said and what the preacher said and what the church says. You love to say that. But you forget that commandment, don't you? Thou shalt not kill. It doesn't say thou shalt not kill unless you decide one day you're going to make a citizen's arrest about some property that don't belong to you, about a young man jogging down a place where you didn't think he should be because you hadn't seen him before, because he wasn't a part of your neighborhood. There's no addendum on thou shalt not kill. Now, if you don't have to worry about your son getting pulled over by the police, if you don't have to worry about any of these things, I am happy that you don't. I am happy that you don't have to have that burden on your chest every time somebody you love is out of your sight. But please, don't disregard our feelings because you don't have them. Ahmaud Arbery should be alive. I don't know the names of the gentlemen that were killed and hurt in Kenosha, but those gentlemen should be alive. I don't care whether or not they got a record. How many of us have been arrested? How many of us have ran a stop sign or driven over the speed limit or ran a stoplight? How many folks did mouse the check? I don't give a shit whether or not they had a record. I don't care whether or not they're a felon. They weren't in jail at the time. I don't care about what they did in their past because they didn't get shot because of their past. Here's the thing. When you bring up somebody's past experiences or crimes, that is because the crime in which they, because the reason they were killed had something to do with what they did in their past. That's why you bring up the past, because it is relevant to the present. You don't bring up the past in any other reason unless it is relevant in the present. Did what they did in their past, did one of the crimes they were convicted for, did the reason they went to jail, did that have anything to do with why they were killed? No, because these people had no knowledge of each other. So you didn't know that they were felons. You didn't know they'd been to jail before. So their past had nothing to do with the present in which they were killed. So it has no factor into why they were killed. I don't give a damn if they were violent. Clearly they wasn't violent enough, because they the ones that died. Hear me what I'm saying. The defense wants to make the argument that these were violent felons and that he was in fear of his life. However, they wasn't that violent because they the ones that died. A 17-year-old boy who could barely piss straight was lucky enough to kill two very violent felons who, if given the chance, would have scared him. Does this shit, what I said make sense just now? When you go back and you see some of the things that you said to the people who will see this, who don't agree with me on the fact that their past had nothing to do with their murder, did you hear what I said? I'm not saying that they weren't violent felons. I'm not saying they hadn't been to jail. What I'm saying is that he didn't have prior knowledge of that. So their past had nothing to do with why they were killed. And that is the same in the Aubry situation. I don't care what young Mr. Aubry had done before that day, because they didn't know him. That wasn't their homeboy. That wasn't somebody who was at their house getting a beer at a barbecue. That wasn't somebody their daughter was dating. They didn't know him. So they had no knowledge of his past or even his present. They had no knowledge of his criminal history. They had no knowledge of his background. So nothing in his past, nothing before that day had any effect on why they killed him. So stop bringing it up. Stop using it as a talking point. Stop having a reason. Stop trying to find reasons to excuse murderers. Now, here's a very simple way. It's much like when we talk about police and whether or not they were justified and it was an accident, or whether or not they committed a homicide. Oh, I would love to give the closing arguments. However, they ain't gonna pay me no more attention than they do the people with the legal degree. So shit. These people got a whole legal. These people had a whole. These are entire lawyers. These are whole lawyers, and they don't pay them any attention. So here's what I'm going to look up the definition of homicide. Definition. Homicide is an act of a human killing another human being. Homicide requires only a volitional act that causes the death of another. All right. So that's what it says. That's what a homicide is. All right. Now, murder. Hey, let's look them all up. Now, if you look at the death certificates of the people who were killed by police officers and the people who've been killed by these protesters and these vigilantes and these citizen arresters, it'll say homicide. Death at the hands of another. That's basically what homicide is. So let's see what murder. Let's do murder. I didn't spell that correctly. Murder is the unlawful, premeditated killing of one human being by another. Johnny Cochran had, I wanted to be, because Johnny Cochran's just basic retainer was $25,000 just to sit down and talk to him before he even take the case to retain his services. That is not the option. Yeah, I would have been. But you know what? I'd have been the broke lawyer down there trying to figure out how to get these folks out of jail on my free time. That's how stupid I am. So murder is the intentional killing of one human being by another. Because homicide just means somebody killed somebody. It could have been justifiable homicide. Homicide just means, it's like patricide, matricide, infanticide. That just means somebody killed their father, somebody killed their mama, somebody killed their kid. Homicide, homo sapien, one person killing another. Murder is the intentional death of one person at the hands of another. They intentionally shot him. They intentionally shot. Oh, that's okay, Patricia. Listen, baby, go ahead. That's cool too. So, the three men committed murder. They intentionally shot this man. They corralled him. They harassed him. And eventually, when he was trying to escape and fought back, they shot him. They intentionally killed this man. Kyle Rittenhouse intentionally killed those two people. He went somewhere where he was not asked to be. He had a gun that he could not legally carry. He was in a position to where his life could be threatened. So he was hypervigilant and saw everything as a threat that was not one of the people he was with. And as soon as he perceived the threat, he intentionally shot another person. So both of them committed murder. I don't understand what the ambiguity is. I don't understand why they got him trial. Now, I understand that everybody deserves a fair trial. I believe in that. I believe that everybody deserves a fair trial. I believe that even though defense attorneys sound like assholes, everybody deserves a defense attorney who is going to sound like an asshole on their behalf. But make no mistake, there is no ambiguity. Kyle Rittenhouse murdered two people and attempted to murder a third. The McBrides, McMichaels, McSomethings murdered Ahmad Aubry. And the gentleman that used his truck to make sure that they had the opportunity to murder is just as guilty as they are. Because he could have said, he came up at the end. He could have said, hey, y'all don't do that. Just let him go. We'll call the police. Let them do their job. Nobody said, we'll call the police, let them do their job. Nobody said, let's get a good look at him so when they come, we can tell him what he looked like, what he got on. Nobody did their actual job of being a witness. They decided in that moment that we have the ability to take out a criminal, and that's what we're going to do, regardless of whether or not he was a criminal or not. Now, while I didn't know for certain, I just hoped that as I got older, this skin color thing, this race thing, this America being inherently racist thing would get better as time went on. I really, really do. But it hasn't. It's gotten worse because we have shown people time after time after time after time, if you got the right skin color, then we'll figure out a way for you to get away with murder. And you can be mad with me for what I said. You can say, well, you look white. Sure do, but I'm not. Sure do. I am very pale skinned. I am. But if you know anything about black people, you know we come all the way from albino to blue black and every shade in between. I could not get away with murder. Yes. You cannot keep seeing black face after black face after brown face after brown face on TV, dead, dead at a traffic stop, dead while sleeping, dead while standing. And the only thing I feared for my life. I'm going to say this. This is going to be my one and only comment about the police. I have no problem with the police as a whole. I appreciate them coming when we get robbed or something. I mean, when they do their job, I have nothing but appreciation for them. However, the police force in and of itself, you have made it so your people do not fear the consequences for their actions, which is why you have people being pulled out of your cars and shot because they resisted an arrest that shouldn't have happened. The police force attracts bullies because you have shown a bully that he can live his wildest dreams of being able to inflict pain and fear in the people and not be punished. Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her bed, and a no-knock warrant allowed you to bust down somebody's door early in the morning and just shoot indiscriminately. I'm sorry. Right now, I don't know where it is to get you to understand why people feel the way they do about the police. Right now, there was a firefight between two young men at a football game. And the police came in and started shooting. Now, while no one was shot at the initial onset, the crime, no one was shot during the commission of the crime. But the police did injure people with their shooting and killed an 8-year-old girl. So the two young men that were, yes, Beverly. So the two young men that were the shooters on a trial for her murder, not the police officers that actually shot her. Now, I understand the law that is felony murder. When somebody dies in the commission of a crime, you are responsible for that death regardless of who it is. But that's why they don't think they don't have to, because they don't have to pay for what they do. They don't have to pay monetarily. They don't have to pay judiciously. And they don't care psychologically, because if they did, they would think before they do things. If they did, before they pull out their gun and shoot somebody, they might take a moment of pause. I'm not talking about during a firefight. I'm not talking about when somebody pulls a gun on you and you see the gun. I'm not talking about somebody who got somebody hostage and got a gun in somebody's head and they start shooting. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody ambushing a police officer. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you decide to pull somebody over for speeding, and because they're acting a little nervous, so you say, he made a move, it looked like a gun. You are killing people. And it's not in the commission of your job. It is not because you fear for your life. It is not because that's your job. It's because you can. That's all I got to say. I'll call the police. I have hit the 911 on several occasions. Somebody broke into my house, car accidents, But make no mistake about it. Until there are consequences for these police officers' actions, it will continue to happen. I'm sorry. I'm about to get off here. I just wanted to come on here because these trials are going on and your girl ain't been on in a minute. So I decided to come on here and give my 2.13 worth. I can't for the life of me understand why we're debating about things that are blatantly clear. But then I didn't understand the whole 4-year presidency of Trump. So there you go. A lot of stuff I don't understand. So if you're seeing this in a replay, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already hit it for me on the way in. I appreciate it. Can I get one more like? Is somebody not hit the like button for me so I can get to 30 before I get off here? Comment down below. I have no problem with an opposing view, but don't come at me with no crap. Don't come at me with no garbage. If you're going to come at me with something, at least hit the Google button. And if you agree with me, yay. But you can actually put anything in the comments you want. Share this video. Because we got to start talking about the things that are important to people as a whole. Thank you for that 30. I love y'all so much. We have got to start talking about things that are important for people as a whole. And us getting this whole killing folks, we got to get that shit under control. Share this video. You never know. Might spark a conversation somewhere. And hit that notification bell so that every time we drop a video or go live, the Bomb Squad, you know what's up. Y'all can join us. Y'all can come. Hang out like y'all hung out with me today for a little while. You know, it's been an hour, but it's a little while. You know what I'm saying? So like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that every time we drop a video or go live, you guys can join us. And if you see this video and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Come on, join us. Join the Bomb Squad. It's nice over here. We have snacks. Come on in. I really appreciate all my mods coming in today. I appreciate everybody saying hey. I appreciate the comments. Y'all know how I am. It may not. I love y'all. I appreciate it. Every time I see y'all, it makes me smile. And thank you for that. Thank you so much. For everybody who be hanging up in the bushes, but hanging out and watching, I appreciate y'all. Make no mistake. You don't have to comment to be on the live. But if you hanging and you like what you see, I'm cool with that too. I am very cool with that. So this your girl, Lisa. DC Kool-Aid's in the background. I know you hear the jingle jangle of the boys down there doing their puppy thing. I don't know what they're doing. We got bingo later on tonight. Y'all know, let's get this bingo going on. I'll be back tomorrow, real talk. I'll figure out something to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow might be a fun talk. We might just talk about people tomorrow. I ain't had a good let's talk about people because some people get on my damn nerves. Okay. That was my dog running into, I don't know, a wall, a box or something. Might talk about these dogs that I know do crack on the weekend. All right. There's something. There's something out there. Some natural crack that grow the dogs. They only know to get it. I don't know what it is. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all. I love you, Bomb Squad. I love all y'all. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being here and giving us your 2 cents. I really appreciate you. I will see you. Yes, enjoy this day on purpose. I don't care what I've said, and I don't care about what's going on in the world. That is some good stuff. Hold on, who said that? Miss Tells the Truth. That is some good stuff. Enjoy this day and every day on purpose. There's enough stuff going on in the world that we can be sad and depressed. There's enough stuff going on in our life. But if you got a chance to enjoy 15 minutes out of the day, do it. If something makes you smile or laugh, get a hold to it. Because right now, there's 2 little dogs that are trying to get in my lap. But Jack stopped that so that they could growl in my ear. I love you guys. We'll be back later. I love you so much. Talk to you later. It's your girl, Lisa. Bye, y'all. Look, crackheads is coming.